Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your emphasis up front on the Gateway project, which is, of course, extremely important to my constituents as it is to the whole country, and for your intention to take the committee to take a closer look at that 10-mile stretch of the Northeast Corridor. I had a chance to do that a couple of weeks ago with some members of our state delegation, and it was quite striking. I had been through and over that infrastructure probably hundreds of times in my life, but in the tunnel, no one ever turned the lights on before until we stopped in a special train and indeed turned the lights on, and you could see just what a 110-year-old tunnel looks like close up. You could see just how close it is to, I think, what all of us would consider a catastrophic failure. And of course, Mr. Anderson, you know some 200,000 people pass through and over that infrastructure every single day. Many tracks narrow down to 2 tracks over the Portal Bridge and through the Hudson River Tunnel. And it's not just the incredibly frustrated New Jersey and New York commuters. It's all of the rail traffic in the Northeast Corridor. And I wonder if you could maybe expound for us a little bit on the importance of that 10-mile piece of transit infrastructure to everything from North Carolina to New England.
Well, we actually, at Amtrak, think of the Northeast Corridor as running from Maine down to North Carolina, because when we sell tickets and people travel across that infrastructure, it's connecting people all the way down from North Carolina, even down into Florida, all the way up through the East Coast to Maine and into Canada. So it's really an interconnected network, and we run that network on an interconnected basis with all of our commuter partners. So it's really pretty remarkable when you think about it. We run 24 trains an hour, and Amtrak maintains and dispatches all of that traffic because it's our railroad. But we take it as our responsibility to make NJT, LIRR, VRE, SEPTA, all of our partners, we have to do a really good job for them. So when you think about that, 24 trains an hour, if you had one of those go down, we'd be running 6 trains an hour. And at 6 trains an hour, you would put New York City in gridlock, and all those connections that we sell from down in North Carolina and down in Florida up through the Northeast would all be cut off. And the impact would ripple all up and down the East Coast. Because when you think about it, all the big, New York's the banking center of the world. Well, many of those banks have all of their infrastructure and operations in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And the banking system relies upon, just like all the industry in New York, in the financial services industry, relies on Amtrak. And there's no way that you can somehow or another put that traffic over the George Washington Bridge or the Holland Tunnel. There's just not enough capacity to be able to do it. So in effect, you would shut down the economic activity in Manhattan.
Exactly. Now, just this afternoon, President Trump, in an interview with Newsday, said that he is now open to funding the Gateway project. I hope that's true. I'd certainly welcome it if it is true. He said, "We have the money set aside. We haven't decided to use it yet," which is an interesting statement. I want to ask you about the next step in the process, should the commitment be there. My understanding is that for the Hudson River Tunnel, that would be getting the final environmental impact statement done. Now, is that correct? And you've submitted all the paperwork, all the reports necessary for that.
Yes, we have. The first piece is the Portal Bridge.
Right,
so
which addressed already.
That's ready to go. Mm-hmm. And New Jersey's given their $500 million, basically a 50% match. And we are ready to begin construction on the Portal Bridge replacement. Everything's ready to go. The design's done, NEPA's done, we're set. The Hudson River Tunnel, we have continued at Amtrak. This is back to what we've been doing the last 3 years. We've been trying to be really good stewards. So we have continued the design process on the tunnels. In other words, while we're restricted by our FRA grant from spending anything on major construction, we're spending the money to do the design and the engineering, and the environmental approval is right now at DOT. So and fortunately, the states of New York and New Jersey are both in the process of passing legislation to create the Gateway Development Corporation. We are fortunate at Amtrak to have Tony Kosha, who as our chairman, who was the former chairman of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. He was in charge of building the tower. He is the chairman of the Gateway Development Corporation, and Stephen Gardner behind me, who knows more about this project than anybody on earth, are the leaders of that effort for Amtrak. So we get that legislation passed, then we have a recipient for the federal funding, and you know, there's an inevitability that this is going to get built. So why we spend all this time gyrating around, it's not a Republican issue or a Democratic issue. It's an American issue. And what we ought to do is just fund it and get on with it, because a 1906 tunnel under the Hudson River just doesn't get it done for this country.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.